Well, sedans are making a grand comeback, and we have seen that sedans can be successful in this market despite all the SUV-ification. And the Volkswagen Virtus and Skoda Slavia are examples of how receptive this market can be of sedans as well. And the Honda City has also been updated with a lot of features. However, one of the most popular cars of the segment, the Verna, has made a comeback now with all the bells and whistles. It's got the most powerful engine, 160 PS of peak power, 253 Newton meters of peak torque. It's got a 1.5 liter turbo, and boy, have Hyundai outdone themselves for this segment this time. Hyundai and exciting, that was not the case earlier, but now with this car, this engine can really satiate the enthusiasts amongst you as well. I've been driving this car for about 70 odd kilometers now, and I can tell you that this car is as exciting as it is practical. And just look at this dashboard. They really have given it the visual appeal that a car with this kind of power and performance requires. But the good thing is that they have not taken away the practicality and comfort in the bargain. So today I'm going to let you know everything that you need to know about this fantastic new offering by Hyundai. So stay tuned, watch this video till the end, because I'll let you know everything that is there to be known about this car. If you want to buy this car, you need to watch this video. To start with, this is the turbo variant, the DCT 7-speed dual clutch transmission, and the engine, as I mentioned, is a 1.5 liter TGDI engine. It's one of the most refined units, most powerful, most torquey. 0 to 100 this car does in 8.1 seconds, which is again class leading. And boy, does the power come in across the rev range. The tractability is not compromised. Even from as low as 900 RPM, this car will trundle along. So that means that the power and torque is available through the rev range, unlike some of the turbos which have a very noticeable lag. This is relatively linear, and that really does land it with a fantastic overtaking acceleration. You press the pedal and the power is available on tap. There's a significant difference that you can feel as compared to the naturally aspirated versions, which really have to rev hard to get that shove. But here, because of the turbo and the fantastic torque, the power is available across the rev band. Now, if you look at the speedo, and if I give it the beans, shift down a little bit in the manual version, you'll see that the tacho will race all the way roughly around 6,000 RPM before it shifts up. So that's where in the automatic variant, you'll see the gears shifting up, and generally no problem whatsoever. You also have these paddle shifters. The steering is also very well weighted. I mean, it's not overly heavy, but you obviously have these drive modes to select from, and you can feel a difference in the way the steering behaves in the eco mode versus the normal mode or the sport mode. So in the sport mode, the steering does gain reasonable weight. Now, this is not the most precise or the most feedback heavy steerings that I've driven, but this is an E-Pass at the end of it, and I think for the kind of car that it is, it does a fantastic job. And right now we are at the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway. I tested this car for its ride quality within the city, and they have done a fantastic job with it. It absorbs bumps really well. The vicious speed breakers are also taken care of. The ground clearance here is 165 mm, which is slightly less as compared to the Virtus and the Skoda Slavia, but it can take care of some big potholes and some vicious speed bumps, as I mentioned, without any problem. So practical aspects have been taken care of, and this is despite the fact that this has the longest wheelbase in its segment, which makes it very stable indeed. The tires especially need a mention, because I tried to start it from a standstill, tried to wheel spin the car, try to swerve it around at high speeds, double lane changes and everything, and this car doesn't squeal. So the tires are very composed, which means that you have a very good control over the car at all speeds. Now, it's probably not as firm as, say, the Virtus. There is a sense of comfort here, and which is a good thing. However, the control on this car is uncompromised, and you can really push it. So the enthusiasts amongst you are also going to love it. Now, another great thing here is that the fuel efficiency is stellar. It's class leading at 20.6 kmpl, and the surprising thing is that the fuel efficiency is higher on the DCT at 20.6 kmpl ARAI specified, and on the manual you have 20 kmpl. Now, I was really amazed to see that within the city also this car was delivering 14 to 15 kmpl, and on the highway, if you're going to be driving in eco mode with a light right foot, this car can actually attain 19-20 kmpl, which is unbelievable for a car this powerful. It essentially is about how you drive the car. So obviously if you're going to be pushing it hard, the fuel efficiency is going to come down to about 11-12 kmpl if you're going to be really hustling it. But if you're going to be driving it practically with a focus on fuel efficiency, this car can really out deliver. It really can surpass the other big engines in this segment. All in all, it's a fantastic experience. The cabin is very well insulated. I cannot say that it's the best insulated in its class, but I really cannot hear any tire noise or the ambient noise. So a job well done for the segment. The DCT works beautifully well. We were not presented the manual version here, so I'll tell you about the manual version once I drive it. But for a premium car in this segment, this one is going to rewrite the rules primarily because it comes loaded with features, and the only thing that I see missing here is a 360-degree camera. Although blind spot monitoring system is there, but it doesn't have a 360-degree camera like the Tucson. But remember, this car has all the ADAS features, the ADAS level 2 features that you get on Tucson, except for the 360-degree camera, which makes it a fantastically feature loaded car. And right now I am on the expressway, and literally if you can put it in adaptive cruise control, which is a fantastic feature for this segment, this car can gobble up miles, offering you fantastic comfort as well. So from a practicality perspective, from a comfort perspective, from a premium feel perspective, I really think that there is nothing to fault this car. The fuel efficiency is fabulous too, and I really think that this car is going to attract a lot of customers, primarily because of the fact that it offers great performance, fuel efficiency and practicality, which really makes it land it very, very well to the Indian audience. Alright, so I got an opportunity to drive the manual as well. It's a 6-speeder unit, and boy, is it buttery smooth. The clutch is not too heavy as well. The throws are damn short, and you really love using this manual. It's very nice to use, and of course with the 1.5 liter turbo GDI, it's going to really thrill you. It's actually enjoyable for those of you who like a stick shifter, and I for one really loved using it. Now I did a bit of testing, and you'd be able to take this car to 52 kilometers per hour in the first gear, 94 kilometers per hour in the second gear, and in the third gear this car will go past 144 kilometers per hour. In terms of tractability, sixth gear 50 kilometers per hour and onwards. In the fifth gear, 40 kilometers per hour and onwards. In the fourth gear, 35 kilometers per hour, and in the third gear, 25 kilometers. So the tractability for a turbo is pretty good, and it actually can be a fun machine if you really want to drive it enthusiastically. It's a really nice fun car to drive, especially in the manual format, for those who want to be in complete control at all times. Now let's see at 100 what revs this car is doing, and we are at 83 right now. Let's give it the beans, and we are almost there. Alright, we are at 100 and it's barely at 2000 RPM. So you can only imagine how relaxed this car is even at high speeds. A ton at 2000 RPM with 4000 revs more to go. So generally if you're cruising, it's going to be extremely relaxed, and the fuel efficiency is going to be very good. Within the city also you'll get a very good feeling because the tractability is relatively good for a turbo, and the engine and transmission is very usable. All in all, a fantastic experience driving the manual. I didn't think it would be so much fun, but it is. As you would have noticed, you don't have the button for hill hold, as well as this handbrake is manual here. But that's pretty much it. You are missing the paddle shifters, but you have a much more fun stick shifter here. So if you are an enthusiast, I can recommend this car. You can really go ahead and buy this one if you like rowing your gears. Now to start off, there are two primary variants. One is this turbo variant and the other one is the 1.5 MPI naturally aspirated variants. And of course, there are differences in terms of features, and within these two primary variants also there are differences within the sub variants, which is E, S, SX and SX options. And in another video, one of our team members are going to let you know everything about which variant has what features essentially. But between the two primary variants there are some differences, and they are defined by these red calipers, discs up front and at the rear, which are not present on the naturally aspirated version. You also have these red calipers, and there are a few other stylistic changes. Inside you have all black upholstery, you have red highlights, you have metal pedals, and there are some other differences also. However, in size this car has grown significantly. In fact, it has the longest wheelbase in this segment, and it's bigger than the Virtus in terms of the wheelbase, although the width is also the highest. Although the height of this car as compared to the previous Verna remains unchanged and is also the lowest in the segment. In terms of length also, this car is not the longest, but that doesn't matter because overhangs and the bumper sizes don't add much to the practicality. But in terms of the cabin space, Hyundai have really enhanced it. In fact, the boot size also here is the highest in the segment, which makes it a very practical and big looking car. So this car has presence on the road. So that's what you need to know first and foremost. Now in terms of styling, just like other Hyundai cars, it's very experimentative, it's very urban, it's very chic, it's very metropolitan. And like other cars, like the Japanese or the Germans, who generally like to be set within a template, be very sophisticated, the Koreans like experimenting, and you can see that across this car. In fact, you can see that this car also draws its inspiration from the bigger Tucson, especially if you look at the cuts and creases at the rear. So it's a very modern, very sophisticated take on automotive design, and it's very evident if you look at this connecting DRL and positioning lights up front. So the bonnet is low, of course, to comply with the pedestrian norms, and then you have this dark chrome grille here, which is of course called the parametric grille. The headlamps, which are all LED units, sit here. But the funny thing here is that the blinkers are bulbs. I would have really liked these bulbs to be integrated within the DRLs, but they are not. I wonder why. Maybe it's a cost-cutting measure, but I would have really wanted these blinkers to have been integrated here. Apart from that, this car looks really nice. It gets these radars up front, parking sensors up front, although as I mentioned before, this does not come with the front parking camera. Also, the front bumper looks rather aggressive with these little winglets coming out. It's probably not as bold looking as say the Virtus, but it definitely looks sleeker and is more gadget-like, more modern and more tech-savvy as compared to its other three rivals. Now these air inlets that you see here are also functional units, and they work towards reducing turbulence and in effect reducing the noise inside the cabin as well. Coming towards the side, these wheels are all black units and are specific to the turbo variant. If you go with the 1.5 MPI version, there you'll get a two-tone unit, still 16 inches. But if you go lower down the variants, that's the E and S variants, there you'll get smaller wheels, that's 15 inches, and the rubber size also will be reduced at 185 section. These are 205 section, 16 inches Apollo lakh 4G tires, and I can tell you that they performed really well today. Now the spare wheel on all variants is a steel unit, and the tire is also Goodyear Assurance. So there you get 185 section, 15 incher for all the variants as spare. As you can see, the length of the car is pretty good, although the height isn't. The ground clearance is 165 mm and it looks rather nice. In fact, it is from the side where this car is at its boldest, and its haunches with their cuts and creases really lend it a very futuristic, very bold look. The roofline swoops down, you get a shark fin antenna, you have this satin silver belt line, and you also have these beautiful 3D triangular elements on the C-pillar as well. The ORVM also here carries over the theme and has a very angular, very sharp look to it. What I really was impressed with was these door handles, which are finished in this very beautiful, very unique satin silver trim, and they look very nice. Now just like the front, at the rear also you have a similar theme where you have a connected tail lamp cluster, and this tail lamp cluster by itself seems like a pretty complex and beautiful unit. So you have this Hyundai logo here, the Verna branding here, but when you look at the tail lamp cluster, this is the primary unit, but when you press the brakes, these 9 LED studs light up and make it look rather special. Apart from that, you have some other elements, but these are ornamental, they are not functional. The one thing that I didn't like though is that the reverse light and the blinkers are still bulbs. I would have liked this entire thing to be all LED, but I think with the kind of features that Hyundai is offering, some cost cutting was to be done at some point, because the feature set on this car is absolutely fantastic. You have these reflector units here and this 3D surfacing. Of course, you have the rear parking sensors here and the camera sits here. Now, as I mentioned before as well, this car does not come with a 360-degree camera, and this is the only camera that you have to live with. As another differentiation over the MPI variant, you have the 1.5 turbo badging here, and of course, you also get a high mount stop lamp right here. All in all, I personally think that this car looks very modern, very futuristic. It looks fantastic, and what are your thoughts about this car's visuals? Do let me know, because seems like the design, especially from the front, is a little polarizing. So I would really like to know what you think about this car's design. Now, as I mentioned, this car also comes with the largest boot in the segment, and it's got a trick up its sleeve. So if you have the key in your pocket and you come close to the trunk, it will pop open all by itself, like so. Although it's not powered, but if you have your hands full, this really is a handy little feature. And as you can see, there is tons and tons of space here, and you can go out for a very long holiday with your family without any problem whatsoever. And as I mentioned before, you have a smaller sized wheel as paired. So not only has the Verna grown in size inside the cabin, but the boot has also increased significantly to make it a lot more practical now. Now let's get inside the cabin and see what are the features and amount of space that we get. Now, as you would expect from a Hyundai, this car comes with keyless entry, and you have lock and unlock buttons, and you can turn the car on and open the boot by holding this button as well. And as you would expect, once I approach the car, I just have to press this button to get inside. The mirrors, as you saw, are auto folding. Now the doors open wide, and while this is a sedan, so the seating is low, the entry and the exit is pretty easy, so the ingress is damn easy. The seat height, of course, it's not a mid-sized SUV, so it's not ideal, it's a little low. You look at the door panel, and it's quite unique in terms of the kind of textures and design that it has. And you also have these 4 strips of ambient lighting embedded here. And the ambient lighting here has 64 different colors to choose from. All of this material is, although hard plastic, but still feels like good quality. This is not that hard plastic, this is a decent quality plastic. This part here also, although hard plastic, is of decent quality. The arm pad is soft to touch. This is leatherette, not leather, and you see this contrasting red stitching, which of course signifies that this is a turbo variant. You have a 1 liter water bottle space here, and then some more space to spare where you can put a book or a magazine or your phone. So you have in fact space for 2 water bottle holders, and Hyundai have made sure that you have enough space to keep enough water bottles to fight the famous Indian summers. Now, if you look at the buttons here, you have the folding mirrors, electric controls, and only the driver's side window is one touch up and down. The door pulls are finished in satin silver. Now, coming towards the cabin itself, for the turbo variant, you get these metallic pedals with rubber studs. The traction control off and auto start stop buttons are here, and the engine start stop button sits right here. As you can see, this cabin is tilted towards the driver, so it's very driver centric, it's very ergonomic. And then there are these two 10.25 inch screen which serve the purpose of the instrument console and the infotainment screen. As you would expect, this car is loaded with features, and the steering is also rather unique with its 2-spoke design, and all the controls are mounted right here. The headlights are automatic, but let's talk about the seat first, which is electric, and it's the only car in its segment, surprisingly, where you get electric seats, although you don't get an electric lumbar support in any form whatsoever. Height adjustment is manual though, and you cannot use this button to increase or decrease the height of the seat. It's only fore and aft. The fuel cap can be opened from here, 45 liters of fuel tank, and the boot can be opened from here as well. And the bonnet release button is right here. As you can see, the seat is pretty well bolstered, both from the thigh and hip side and on the shoulders. So the seats are very, very comfortable. The foam thickness is just right, and even if you're going to be driving for long distances, for example, if you're going to be driving from Delhi to Mumbai through this beautiful expressway at which we are right now, I really think that this car can take you without any stops, and you'll get off the car fresh like a flower. Now, in terms of more storage spaces, you have this wireless charging unit here, which also can be used as a storage space. Then you have this little cup holder here, and then this very intuitive and very cleverly designed space where you can probably put your cell phone or your wallet, or you can press this button to convert into a big cup holder like so. So that's very intelligent. Then the armrest here is a sliding type, and this space also can be used without you having to lift the armrest up like so. So you can put stuff in or take it out like that, although the armrest can be lifted up like that as well. This is not height adjustable. Then the glove box is also reasonably sized, and it is also cool. So that's again a great feature. The dashboard plastics are again hard plastics, but they are not bad quality plastics like you see on a lot of other cars. They have a certain degree of give, so they are not exactly those really rough sort of plastic. They are good quality hard plastics. Then you have this very beautiful red colored highlight on the turbo variant, and the ambient light strip also runs across the cabin to lend it a touch of class. And as I mentioned, you have 64 different colors to choose from. This is the sunroof here, and I really wish that the sunroof was a little bigger. This sunroof is not the biggest that we have seen, but this car does come with a sunroof nonetheless. The one thing that I really liked here is that the headliner is of a very good quality. Unlike the fleece headliners that we see in a lot of other cars, this one is of a better quality. Auto dimming ORVMs and vanity mirrors on both sides, although they are not illuminated. The seat belts are also height adjustable. You get an electronic parking brake on the turbo variant, although you won't get it on the 1.5 MPI, and you also get an auto hold function. I'll talk about safety in a little bit. You can choose the drive modes from this button, and you can also engage the rear view camera using this button. It also comes on when you turn the gear selector to the R mode, and this is how it looks. I think the resolution could have been better for this day and age. It does come with guidelines though. You can choose the camera angles to see what's right below the car or go wide like so. Now the one amazing feature that this car has and no other car in the segment has is that it gets ventilated as well as heated seats. Although the use of heated seats in India is not much, but this car does come with that feature, and it also gets a USB socket as well as a Type-C USB socket and a 12-volt power socket. Another trick that this car has up its sleeve is that this AC panel here can be converted from an HVAC unit to the media unit just by the press of this button. And if you look closely, you'll realize that these buttons are lit by a different set of lights, and all the spaces between are lit by another set of lights. And of course the touch sensitivity of those sections goes on and off, and it's very cleverly done. And you would see this typically in Land Rover cars, and for a Hyundai this is very nicely done. You have the other HVAC controls here. It's a single zone climate control. You don't have two zones, although you have this auto button which can be set to 3 different settings, and you have the rest of the HVAC controls right here. The hazard light button sits right here. And one important thing that I wanted to mention is that the middle part of this crash pad or the dashboard is actually soft to touch. So while the top part and the lower part are hard plastics, this part here is actually very soft to touch and is a touch of class which is not available in cars in this segment. Now, if the rear seat is occupied, this car also comes with a seat belt reminder, which is a fantastic feature to have, and it's very nice and bright and right in your face. So if someone is not wearing a seat belt, you can show this to them and then they'll have to put the seat belt on. It also gets these beautiful paddle shifters for the turbo variant. And if I talk about this 10.25-inch infotainment screen, it comes with 65 plus connected car features, OTA updates for maps as well as software itself. Comes with the quiet mode, 64 color ambient lighting, and all the bells and whistles that you know Hyundai cars for. It is loaded to the gills, and the only thing that's missing here is a 360-degree camera, but apart from that it comes really loaded with everything. The audio is supported by Bose speakers here, and it comprises of 8 speakers including a subwoofer, and the sound quality is pretty good. Not audiophile level, but it's pretty good for this segment and one of the best sounding audio systems you'll get within this segment. The steering, as you would expect, is tilt and telescopically adjustable. You should, however, remember that this one is an all black interior, but if you go with the 1.5 MPI version, you'll get a black and beige interior, not all black with red highlights. So that's something that you need to bear in mind. Also, while these soft to touch materials and the upholstery here for the seat might look like it's leather, but it's not, it's leatherette. So that's also something that I need to be clear about. One thing that I would have wanted to see here and is not here is wireless connectivity for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. From what we understand, it's something to do with data, and this may be a feature that can be enabled through OTA updates in the future. So while that feature is not here, wirelessly, with the wire, of course, you can connect it through Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but in the future this may have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So that's a feature that we are told is possible in the future through OTA. On this instrument console, you'll also get weather information, multiple language UI, which is 10 regional and 2 international languages, and sports information along with separate user profiles. This car also gets ambient sounds of nature that we have seen on the Venue as well. Also, the command list here is embedded, which means, like unlike some other cars where the command goes to the server and comes back, here the command is instantly followed. For example, Open the sunroof.
Opening the sunroof.
So the response to the commands is very good, and apart from that, this also understands up to 17 numbers of English commands, and embedded voice commands count is up to 118. This car also comes with the home to car feature, where you can connect a Google Assistant or Alexa with this car and say commands like lock my doors or switch on my AC or check engine health, etc., and you will get all the updates on your phone. Now, a very pertinent question that a lot of you would ask is about the safety of this car, and while I cannot say anything conclusively about this car, I think Hyundai have been very careful while manufacturing this car, and that's the reason why they had a separate section where they talked about the manufacturing processes of this car, where they've used over 40% advanced high strength steel and 30% high strength steel in the construction of this car. It of course is manufactured in a highly automated plant, so the precision and the quality is top notch. And while the ASEAN or global NCAP ratings are not out, I talked with the Hyundai professionals and they are very confident that this car will come out with some really high safety ratings. Now, while I don't have those numbers, this car does come with 6 airbags as standard, so that's a very good thing. It comes with traction control, ESP, VSM, front parking sensors, all 4 disc brakes, tire pressure monitoring system, 3-point seat belts for all the seats, seat belt reminder for all the seats, emergency stop signal, ISOFIX child mounts, headlight assist, auto headlamps, and hill start assist control, to name a few of the features that this car comes loaded with. Now, apart from all of those, as you would note that the top of the line SXO variants of this car also come with ADAS functions, and while the Honda City also has an ADAS function, the clear difference is that this car is not only dependent on a camera for its ADAS functions. It has a camera, a radar at the front and 2 radars at the rear. So it is a more sophisticated version of ADAS, and that really endows this car with more features over the city. So in effect, this is a more complex system, it is a more sophisticated system, and it also comes with more features as compared to the Honda City. So while the Honda City also gets smart cruise control, etc., there are certain features like rear collision avoidance, etc., which this car comes with and Honda City doesn't. So in effect, this car has a more advanced ADAS system as compared to the Honda City. To summarize, ADAS is not something that's new, but the good thing here is that it has all the ADAS functions that you get on the much more expensive Tucson, except for the surround view, which is supported by the 360-degree camera. So apart from the 360-degree camera, where you'll also get blind spot monitoring through cameras and maybe a 360-degree view, you get everything else. So the ADAS capability of this car is almost as good as Tucson, and that's saying a lot. All in all, if you talk about the front part of the cabin, this tech-heavy system that you get here, the ergonomics, the connected feeling that you get, overall the quality, the features, the ADAS functions, I really think that Hyundai have crammed this car up with features, and it can only be a good thing, because in terms of value for money, this car really outshines everything else that you have within the segment. Now, the one thing that the Verna didn't do very well in its previous iteration was the space at the back seat, and let's see how much space and features do we have in the back row. Let's get there. Now, thanks to the size of the car and its wheelbase, the doors at the rear also open pretty wide, and just like the front, the materials are pretty similar. They're hard plastics but not bad quality. The arm pad here is soft to touch with a contrasting red stitching, space for 1 liter water bottle, and some more space to spare here for a wallet or something else. Satin silver door pulls, and the window here is not one touch up or down, but the big difference is the knee and leg room. Now you have tons and tons of space, at least when it comes to the thigh support. The knee room and even the leg room is also pretty good, with space under the front row of seats to move your feet around. So the space here is not a problem at all, albeit with one little issue. For me, while the headroom is more than sufficient, I am 5 feet 10 inch, so for people who are up to 6 feet, it should not be a problem, but if you're taller than that, your head will brush against the roof line. So as I mentioned right at the beginning, the roof here is not very high, the car is not very tall. So for the taller ones amongst you, the headroom might be a bit of an issue, but it generally is not an issue for most of the average built people, and for the taller ones up to 6 feet as well. You have rear AC vents, 2 Type-C USB sockets, and some space for your wallet or cell phone. You have these magazine holders. As I mentioned, you get a proper 3-point seat belt for all 3 passengers at the rear. You have ISOFIX child seat mounts, this armrest, with 2 cup holders, a separate light for the rear, a coat hook, although an adjustable headrest is missing for the central passenger. But the legroom and knee room here is absolutely fantastic, and this car has grown significantly in terms of its size. It now is definitely one of the most spacious cars in its segment, and it also comes with a feature wherein you can put on these blinds manually like so if there is sunlight coming inside the cabin, which actually is right now. So this rear blind is another useful function that has been added. Overall, the feeling that you get while being seated in this cabin is that of a premium cabin, which really cocoons you, makes you feel comfortable. The slant angle, the contouring, the thigh support, everything is fantastic. Although, and while this seat is wide enough, it's not meant to seat 3 because the middle part is slightly raised. Also, the rear AC vent intrudes the rear cabin. So while you can actually seat 3 here, but that would be only for short to medium journeys. This armrest also isn't very well contoured. So ideal scenario, you should seat 2 here, but if there's an emergency, you can seat 5 in all. The suspension, as I mentioned, is also very compliant. The cabin insulation is fantastic, and the ride quality, the comfort is fantastic. So this indeed is a very good space to be if you want to buy this as a car where you want to be chauffeur driven. Now Hyundai is taking the sedan segment very seriously, and that's why they're offering some amazing warranties on this product. So you have 3 years unlimited kilometers warranty, which can be extended up to 7 years. Apart from that, you get up to 5 years of Shield of Trust running repair package, and you can also get up to 5 years of Shield of Trust super maintenance package. You'll also get 3 years of Blue Link subscription and 16 free OTA updates. Now for the sedan segment, especially with the 1.5 liter turbo, this car really nails it in terms of power, performance, torque, fuel efficiency, the feature set, the kind of feel that you get inside, the ambience, everything is absolutely spot on. And Hyundai, like always, is offering a lot of value for money within the segment. So if you're looking for a car in this segment, I really think that you shouldn't make your purchase until you have checked this one out, because it does offer a lot of value for money. Also, in terms of ADAS, it's offering some features which are not offered by other cars in the segment, even the City, because it is a more advanced version of ADAS. Now also in terms of pricing, if you compare NA to NA or turbo to turbo, I think it's offering fantastic value for money. Now the City doesn't have a turbo, so it has only an actually aspirated version. So that's the reason why the top of the line variant of that car ends lower. But if you compare the turbos as compared to the Slavia and the Virtus, the top of the line variant of this car is slightly lower priced, at least right now for the introductory prices. And let's compare the prices now. So the Verna's entry point is the lowest at 10.9 lakh rupees, and it goes all the way to 17.4 lakh rupees. The Slavia and Virtus start at about 11.3 lakh rupees and go all the way till 18.5 lakh rupees. So the starting point and the ending point on the two cars is higher than this, and the City is higher to enter with at 11.5, although at 16 lakh rupees it ends early, but as I mentioned, it does not come with a turbo option. So in my books, it's a fantastic value for money product, and while the preferences for various customers can be different, you should definitely go out and take a test drive of this car, because it does offer a lot of value for money. I really hope that I was able to answer all of your questions in this detailed video. Still, if you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. We'll try to answer your questions. And if you like these detailed, in-depth videos, do subscribe to Motoroids. And until next time, this is Amit Chhangani signing off. Rev hard, rev free, and drive safe.